Hello, everyone. Pardon my voice, but today's lecture will be intervals, the melodic and harmonic building blocks of music. All right, what are intervals? Well, remember when we were talking about register and octaves, where we had two different octave scales there? We had higher notes and lower notes. Also, do you remember uh, the letters and which had besties and which not? Yeah, most of the letters had a space, which represented the black key, except B, C, and E, F were besties, right? They were right next to each other. Well, what we were talking about were intervals. An interval is the measure between two pitches, either horizontally or vertically. So a horizontal is called a melodic interval. That's a horizontal where you're kind of going across, right? Meanwhile, vertically, we're talking about stacked. And this is a vertical interval is known as a harmonic interval. Okay, we'll explain more of this as we go along, but let's get those two terms kind of in our vocabulary a little bit, and we'll keep working on them. So what intervals have we seen so far? We saw the second. That was the letters next to each other. So when we were looking at C to D, for example, and D to E and E to F, these are seconds, and these seconds are in melodic intervals. Also, we looked at octaves. That's when we went from one C to another. Here we have that two C's and a harmonic interval. We also talked about a fifth. That's when we were talking about skipping no more than 5 letters away. So here we see C to G. That is a harmonic interval. That is a fifth. So in naming and identifying intervals, it's important to know that they don't only have sizes, but they also have qualities. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at the intervals we just examined. The name or the number is determined by the amount of letters. So the fifth we were talking about from C to G is 5 letters total, including where you start. C, D, E, F, G. Well, that's pretty easy. So you start on C, that counts, D, E, F, G. Yeah, so that's how you name the interval. It's a fifth. The octave, that comes from 8 letters total. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. 8 octave. Let me allow me to move my face over here. Hello again. All right. But intervals also have qualities. And I'd like to begin talking about seconds. For example, when we were talking about the besties that are right next to each other, that's the closest interval that you can have outside of what's called a unison, which is literally the same note. So if you have 2 different notes, the closest interval you can have is what's called a minor second. E to F is a minor second. Minor means smaller. So if you're not skipping a piano key, it's right next to each other. That's pretty much the smallest interval you can find on a piano outside of, playing the same note twice. The other notes here, though, are what are called major seconds, and they are skipping a key. So a major here means bigger than. So you got a minor second, which are keys right next to each other. And I can do this on a guitar too. For example, you have E, F, right? They're right next to each other. But D to E is skipping a fret. So it's 1, 2 frets away. Whereas C to D, also 2 frets away. Kind of make sense? That's right. Again, major means bigger than minor. We can continue on though. There's an interval bigger yet than a major second. Probably not a surprise to you, but these are called thirds. Thirds are also in minor and major. So the next interval bigger than a major second is a minor third, and that is E to F, which are the besties, right? Right next to each other. Then F to G, that's skipping, that's a major second. So in looking at this, we see we have the minor third, E and G, also written as M3 third, right? Minor third. But notice the M is tiny. That's a shorthand. And then you can see written out E, F, G. Those are the 3 notes spanned in a E to G minor third. Again, the E to F is a minor second. Look, that's the note I just showed you right next to each other. And F to G is a major second. So if I did that on the guitar, you would, if you're playing this F, which is the one written, you would go skip a fret and go play G. The same thing you would see on a piano. So let's take a look at a piano. On a piano, it would be 3 keys away to find the minor third. So if you're starting on E, you have F, F sharp, or the black key in between F and G. There, 3 keys away. But there's another term to help describe this instead of saying piano keys or frets. What we're talking about are half steps. The distance from one key to the adjacent key is a half step. E to F, half step. The distance from one piano key skipping the adjacent key to the next piano key is a whole step. So F to G, that is a whole step. All right, so we talked about the minor third. Well, as I said, major means bigger. So let's talk about that. A major third, also written as a big M with a 3, covers 2 major seconds. So in the case of F to A, this major third has 2 major seconds. F to G skips a black key, and G to A skips another black key. So 2 major seconds. In total, that means you have 4 half steps or 4 piano keys away. If you're starting on F, again, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 keys away, also known as 2 whole steps. And these rules apply to any major third anywhere. So let's say you're going from C to E, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4 keys away to get to E from C. Let's check this out on the guitar. So the F to A, this is F to G, 2 frets away, and then to A, F, A, major third, 1, 3, F, A. You could also play this like this, F, A, for you guitarists out there. It's the beginning of an F chord. If you took that to a C, it would be the same thing. C, skipping a fret would take you to D. Skipping a fret again would take you to E. So there is C, E, and I can even slide this up to F on the guitar. Overachieved. Super overachieved. Yeah, there's an F. So literally that same formula fits on strings that are tuned similarly on the guitar. I won't get into all the guitar details right now, but you could take that same premise as you just saw. And if I was looking here, if you can see my pen, you have C as your starting point. C, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 takes you to E, another major third. You could even start on a black key and create a major third. Like from here, you'd have 1, 2, 3. Excuse me, you don't count where you started. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. B flat to D would be a major third. Anyway, but let's not get too into that. We'll get into the black keys later. Okay, so moving 4 keys away from your starting point is a major third. But what happens if I go 5 keys? Well, let's find out. Now we're talking about what's called a perfect fourth, and that's related to a perfect fifth, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So let's take a perfect fourth. A perfect fourth is E to A. That's E, F, G, A, 4 different letters. On the score here, you see, there we go. You've got E to A, and you can see the 4 letters, 1, 2, 3, 4. E, F, G, A. Now on a piano, that means it is 5 keys away, right? Because E, F are besties. So that's 1 key away. F to G, they need their space. So that's 2 keys away. And then G to A, that's 2 keys away. So here it is looking at the piano. Starting key E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys away takes you to A. You could also see this as covering a minor third, which would be E to G, as we just discovered from E to G, plus this major second. There's other ways you can view it too. You could view it as a half step plus 2 whole steps. These are just ways to kind of break it down, but you're getting the idea. You have 5 half steps away from the starting key, takes you to A. But I call it a perfect fourth. Why? Well, perfect, it's because it does not have a major or a minor quality. If you went one less, you would have a major third, for example. And if you go one more, you're going to find out that leads you to a very different place. Hang on for what happens. But so a perfect fourth is just this kind of open, hollow sound, E to A. That's a perfect fourth. Da, da. Kind of maybe makes you think of like Braveheart or something. Those kind of older musics. This is it is or it isn't type of interval. Why this is very complicated. As someone who teaches world music, there is a huge history behind this. And if you want to learn more about it, I can send you some ways. But part of it has to do with math and interpretation of scale years ago in the Middle Ages. And also it has to do with how we've been trained to hear what's called consonant and dissonant pitches. We'll get into that later. But why it's called perfect is complicated. But if you kind of thought about a perfect angle, think about it like that. It's also important to note that this interval is related to the perfect fifth. How? Well, let's take a look. A perfect fifth. Okay, well, a perfect fifth could be A to E. Notice how we changed the order, like rising. So we have this over here is now A, right? And then, well, that looks like a 4, but it's really an A. And then here is our E. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters. This is also a perfect interval. Listen. So we had E to A a moment ago. Now it's A to E. They're different, clearly. You play them all together and it just sounds like metal. All right. Anyway, or punk rock or whatever. But that is the perfect fifth. So these same 2 letters flipped become the perfect fifth. How does that work on the piano? Well, if you go from A to E, it's A to B is a major second. B, C are, so that's 2 keys, I should say. B, C are besties. C to D, so it's just 1 key. C to D, 2 more keys, right? Major. And then 2 more keys. So we're talking about a perfect fifth is 7 piano keys away from the starting point. So there's our starting key A. There's the 7 keys, takes you to E. Or you could also view it as it covers a minor third, right? A to C. You got B, C, and there's the 1 key away. And then A to B is the major second, minor third total. And then C to E, that's your major third. This is what I mean, or this is what is meant when you hear that A to E is an inversion of E to A. They are related, but spoken and played out in a different order. So one is a perfect fifth because it's A, B, C, D, E notes total versus a perfect fourth, which is E, F, G, A. Make sense? But you remember when I said, what if you went one bigger than a perfect fourth? What's between the perfect fourth and perfect fifth? Well, this is a very special interval. It's called the tritone, or also known as an augmented fourth or a diminished fifth, depending on how you spell it. What does that mean? So these intervals are very curious because they are always the same distance, despite the difference in spelling. So as you noticed before, you had 2 different letters, but the way you ordered them created a different spacing on the keyboard, or the guitar for that matter. These notes do not do that. They are always 6 piano keys away, no matter the order of letters or size of the interval. Well, the interval being the numbers, right? The size, distance-wise, is the same. All right, so here we have the fourth, right? So I've got a B below, but we'll get to that one in a second. But you have F to B, right? So starting on F, you see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 notes, F, G, A, B. But if you look at the piano, you have 3 major seconds. F to G is a major second, G to A is a major second, A to B. That's 6 keys away. Okay, cool. But what if I started on B? Well, you're kind of seeing how this is going to go. Starting on B, you obviously you have 5 notes now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. B, C, D, E, F. So looking at this, starting at B, B to C is a minor second. From C to D, you have a major second. D to E is another major second. So that's 5 total, but then there's one more minor second. Again, 6, even though the spelling is 5. So this is called a diminished fifth because the range is not the same as a perfect fifth. And then when you're going from the fourth, from F to B, when you had 4 letters of on the scale there, you're talking about an augmented fourth because it's bigger than the perfect fourth. This is a very powerful sound, by the way. Let's listen to it. So if you're going from the original F to B, I mean, maybe you're thinking about the Simpsons or Maria. This is a tritone. Or you could go down to the B. Can you hear how they sound very similar? This sound contains a lot of movement because historically that's how it's been used. At one time, the sound was so dissonant to the music creator's ears that it was banned. It was called the devil's tone because a lot of music was being performed in the church. It's also often used to identify a major scale. This tritone, for example, you hear that? B, F, E, C is the tritone, the identifying tritone for a C major scale. And just getting ahead a little bit, F always goes to an E and B always goes to a C. But wait a second. Scale? How many of you know what that is? Have I used that term yet? Ha, that's for next week. That's my little trick. But let's do something in the meantime that's going to help you understand where scales come from and what makes a scale. So on this assignment, we're going to use note flight to write out and label not only the notes, but the intervals. So we're going to write out all the major and minor seconds using all the letter combinations. There will be 7 total. Then you're going to write out all the major and minor thirds using all the letter combinations. Again, there will be 7, 1 for each note in the scale. Then you're going to write out all the perfect fourths and the related perfect fifths inversions. This one you'll have to do double work, but I'll show you how you can make that a little bit faster. But again, there's a number you're looking for here. There will be 6 perfect fourths and 6 perfect fifths. And then you're going to find the augmented fourth and the diminished fifth. So it's really kind of the same notes, just you're going to order them differently, right? You can use either the bass clef or the treble clef. And there's a hint. When you're trying to write out these intervals, odd intervals, as in a third or a fifth, always go from either line to line or space to space. Meanwhile, the even intervals, or the seconds and the fourths, always go from a line to a space, or vice versa, depending on where you start. And if you're naming the interval, how you do it? You count the letters, including where you start. So let's say you're going from E to A. Okay, E, F, G, A. And there's always this pattern, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You're always like reading through the alphabet that way. And after G, you go back to A. That's how you name it. But if you're naming the quality, you need to think about the half steps or the piano keys or the guitar frets away from where you start. And here you have a table that can help you do that. All right, ready to try some of this? Let's go to note flight and see how this is going to work. Okay, so here I am in note flight. I've picked an odd time signature because I was trying to do some things. And speaking of which, we'll talk about that next time. This is how you change time signature, by the way. I was in 6/4. I'm going to go back to 4/4, which is the one you'll see. You don't need to do anything fancy. And I'm going to stay in the bass clef. Okay, so to make my first second, I'm going to start on a C. C, C. I'm going to go to D. C, D. All right. Now, how do I label this? Well, to make this a little easier myself, I'm going to go turn that to a C. And then I'm going to go add lyrics. And again, you've done this before. The lyrics are the letters. So I'm going to put that capital C, D. Above that, I'm going to go to performance text. And I'm going to, maybe I could go here. Okay, I'm going to go back to performance text and write major second. Big M means major, little m, minor. Cool. Then over here, I'm going to do it again. Only this time, I'm going to go from D to F. Excuse me, E, D to E. I'm tired. Oh, got it. And so from D to E, I'm going to go lyrics. We have D, E. And then I'm going to come up here, click performance text, and go major second. Why? Because again, you have D to E. They need their space. If you remember that thing, everybody needs a space with the exception of what letters? B to C, their buddies, and E to F. Okay. Speaking of which, what's coming up? Well, here I'm going to get a little space again. And I'm going to go from E, I got a quarter note, to F. I always do that. Select text again. Go E to F. And then go to performance text and write mine. Whoa, not big M. Minor is little m, minor second. Okay, now you're going to keep doing this till you get 7 different intervals. I'm halfway done. But then you go F to G, G to A, and A to B, and then B to C. Here's a hint. You will have 5 major intervals and 2 minor. Okay. Now, if this is kind of malarkey how I'm doing it, you're like, why are you doing it this way? To quote our president, malarkey. Silly word, silly. It's entertaining. Another way you could do this is export this. And we'll full score. There's only one. Okay, save. Okay, and I'm opening this in preview, and you could also label it here. If you didn't want to do it all the typing thing, you could draw on here as well. You could just go C, D. You could create a text box, add that in there. Boy, I'm really uncoordinated with this. I've never done it, but you could do it through your program. Apple, I think, is kind of goofy with preview. I've never been terribly impressed with it. Okay, there's an odd D, but you get the idea. And then you could write major second, make the M bigger or equal to the 2. So that's another way you could do it. Okay, obviously on this computer, it's really slow, so I'm going to stick to what I got. Okay, makes sense for the seconds. Let's do another score. Oh, and then title it. Oh, stay on page. Let's title it seconds with all letters. Subtitled, lettered names and intervals. Composer, put your name. And then, of course, the musical alphabet. Thank you for bringing this to us, which is a scale. All right, so I'm going to save that. It's down page. Save it by doing that. Create a new one. This time I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to do it on the treble clef. I'm going to do all the thirds. I'm going to start on C, and I'm going to stack it. C, E, go C, D, E. And you're going to label this. You're going to label the lyrics CE, right? Or I'll put it in capitals, CE, then space C, D, E are the letters that's covered. And then up here, you're going to go performance text and put major third. How do I know that? C to D is a major second. D to E is a major second as well. Here's something else you can do. If you're kind of confused, there's a feature on here, if I can find it, called the keyboard, and it highlights it for you. That is pretty clever. See how that works? So you can see it's, oh, major second, major second. Then come over here and you'll just keep going. Oh, by the way, delete your time signature for the moment. Okay, and now I'm going to go from D to F. And it's going to go D, E, F. Notice how E to F down here is a minor second. So this ends up being, well, we've got DF are those two, and then you have D, E, F. And then up here, we have the performance text, A minor, minor third. See how that works? So major third is big, minor third is small. You're going to do this 7 times. Okay, you will have 3 major thirds and 4 minor thirds. Cool? Alrighty. And I'd love to see it like this, where you've got them stacked in a vertical interval, and then you've got the horizontal with the note you skip in between. Cool. Let's do the same thing. So this is, you'll say this as third intervals, letters named and intervals. Identify. Put your name over here. Musical alphabet. Cool. Saving that again. Here's another one. Now I'm going to find the perfect fourths. So I'm going to start on a C. It's C. I'm going to get the piano out so I can, or the keyboard. See how it's got C. Ooh, what are all those? Those are called accidentals. So you could also go like this. You go C. Then you come back here and go. Oh, you got to plug it in like this. That's fine. So you got C to F. So you've got C, D, E, F. That's a perfect 4. How do I know this? I went from C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys away. So when you're finding the distance, you move away to get the count. You don't include where you start. The naming is different. It's C, D, E, F, 4 letters. That creates fourth. But the quality is determined by going 1 key away, 2, 3, 4, 5 piano keys away. Okay, same thing. Text. So go to lyrics. You have C, F, C, D, E, F, and then you see you've got 2 major seconds, or 2 whole steps and 1 half step, and that creates the performance text of a P for perfect fourth. You're going to do that for the 6 intervals you find. I'll give you a hint. BF is not going to be one of them. B to F is not going to fall under a perfect fourth. Okay, so you'll just keep doing this, and then I'll do it again. I did C to D. I'm going to go D to G. And I can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys away. Let's spell it out. D, E, F, G. There's a lot of space created here. So text again, lyrics. We've got D to G, D, E, F, G, and then you come back. This isn't too bad to do. And you're going to label the performance text for the interval perfect fourth. Sound good? You're going to find 6 of those. I'll give you a hint. It's going to include all letter combinations with the exception of B to F. Okay, so those are the perfect fourths. Now, above, what I would love you to do is write the inverse, going from from F to C now. And then you go F, A, B, F, G, A, B, C. That's kind of an interesting sound, isn't it? So here you would again write the lyrics. You've got F, C this time. Then F, G, A, B, C, and then the performance. And notice how I used a different staff to do this. You could switch if you want to start one place or another, but you're going to go across both staves. The performance text here now, you have perfect fifth. And I'm going to get rid of that tempo just so I can see a little bit clearer. Cool. You'll say, oh wait, let's go perfect fourths and fifths. Again, you'll be using all the same with the exception of BF, right? B to F is a whole different thing. Be sure to put your name. And then not only save it, but when you're done, be sure to export it as well. With all of these, you're going to turn in the PDFs. I don't need to hear it. I just need to see it. Okay, one last one. Now you're going to do tritone, augmented fourth, and diminished fifth. This one is fast. So start with the augmented fourth. This is where you're going from B to, excuse me, F to B. There's the 4 notes. Ba-da-dee-da. You'll label that. Lyrics, F, B, F, G, A, B. And then above, oh, let's get that out of the way again. The performance. That again. This is called AUG fourth is the abbreviation, augmented fourth. Or sometimes they put a plus sign in a little circle degree and stuff, but we'll just call it aug fourth for now. Then from here, at the beginning of this, you're going to take that last letter and then create another scale. Excuse me, another harmonic interval. You got B to F. And if you want the keyboard, there it is. And notice how it works. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keys away. And down here you had F to B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keys again. Kind of cool, right? Even though it's different spelling. So let's spell it out. Oh, that is a quarter note. C, B, C, D, E, F. Da, D. In the lyrics, you've got now B to F, B, C, D, E, F, and then one last time. Performance text. This is called diminished fifth. That's it. Be sure to put your name. I would recommend saving it if you can, although you might be getting to a point where you have to delete some things. So save it, export it as a full PDF, and you're good to go. Okay, thank you so much. Hopefully that makes sense, and I look forward to seeing your work. Let me know if you have any questions.